Welcome to the Know. I'm Ashley Jenkins.
I'm Meg Turney.
It's the worst kept secret in the video game industry. The PS4 NEO is real. Duh. But now it's got a codename and even more confirmation on hardware specs.
New details about Sony's not-so-mysterious console have emerged last night in the form of a report from Giant Bomb. Now, according to their report, the PS4 NEO is codenamed Neo and features an upgraded CPU, GPU, and RAM for improved frame rate and resolution.
Morpheus, Neo, somebody at Sony really loves the Matrix.
Yeah, good for you. Coming soon, the Sony handheld codenamed New Zion Underground Orgy.
I'll buy it.
They totally wrote those movies.
This report has been provided by multiple inside sources to Giant Bomb, along with documents giving gamers a first look at what appear to be actual specs from the PS4 NEO or 4.5 or Architect or whatever they're gonna call it.
Actual specs, everyone. This makes this the unicorn of inside reports.
So horny. The documentation has also been corroborated by Eurogamer, who claim to have access to the same information, but Giant Bomb beats them to the punch.
You snooze, you lose in the news game, guys. All you had were those extra time zones, Eurogamer.
You had so much extra time.
You
all
had,
those
we
hours.
were sleeping. If you're still having doubts, Eurogamer goes as far as to state, there is no doubt this is real. This is the new, more powerful PlayStation 4.
Well, hot damn, them's reporting words. While Giant Bomb couldn't confirm a price for PS4 NEO, we've actually already got you covered there.
When we broke price and release info for the updated console a few weeks back, a Funhouse's inside source revealed to us that it'll be launching for $399 this holiday season.
These new documents also seem to confirm the release window we first reported on.
Yeah,
journalism. Journals dance.
Okay, so on to the good stuff here. So far, the new details state that the PS4 Wachowski boasts a faster CPU and improved GPU and much greater memory bandwidth for the new system.
Specifically, according to the documents, Neo's CPU features 8 Jaguar cores clocking at 2.1 GHz, contrasted to the 8 cores at 1.6 GHz on the original PS4. That's way more gigahertz.
Gigahertz.
That's like 0.4 more gigahertz per core.
0.5?
That adds.
There's no way to know.
There's so many
gigahertz. The prompter
gigahertz.
has scrolled. As for the GPU, that will come in the form of an upgraded AMD GCN. The double compute unit count from 18 to 36 and faster clock speeds, 911 megahertz up from 800. More on that in just a second.
The memory will be fairly similar to the current PS4 at 8 gigabytes of GDDR5 RAM, but with a slight bandwidth boost.
When the word of the PS4 NEO first broke, Eurogamer's Digital Foundry did an in-depth analysis of the current hardware and what would be possible in form factor of a PS4 given current tech limitations. They operated under the assumption that Sony wouldn't feasibly produce a PS4 XL because that would just be madness, everyone.
Let's make it bigger!
Yeah, and instead try to identify ways that Sony could make more performance and also it current size and shape and all that. Just keep it the way it is.
Their conclusion was that Sony had 3 options: a tweaked PS4 Slim with the same CPU speeds and 4K media enhancements, an enhanced version of the current model, and an anything-goes SKU with new everything. And according to their analysis, Sony seems to have gone somewhere between the second and third options.
While the CPU's cores have been overclocked for a 31% improvement, they're still the same cores found in the existing PS4. And even though the memory bandwidth is boosted by 24%, Eurogamer's analysis speculates that it might not be enough to match the GPU boost.
The GPU represents the biggest change to the hardware and probably the most exciting. When you combine the faster clock speeds to the doubled compute units, you get a GPU outputting more than double the power of the original GPU in terms of flops. And who doesn't love a good flop?
Double flops. It happens to everybody. However, the size required by AMD's current GPUs wouldn't be able to support this type of improvement, leading some to believe, as speculated for the last month or so, that this new GPU will make use of AMD's next-gen Polaris technology.
Oh snap, getting all geeky up in here. The TLDR version is that this is a pretty decently improved version of the PS4 we already know and love.
We could keep talking specs all day, but the real question here...
All them flops.
All them flops. How does Sony plan to implement a brand new console into the current generation?
Well, for one, Sony's being very insistent that there will be no Neo exclusive games created by developers in order to keep the player base intact. So none of this like new 3DS, 3DS.
Yeah. Ugh. Well, the actual release date is still unknown. Game shipping as soon as October will be able to make use of Neo Mode, which takes
Neo Mode activate
plugin, which takes advantage of the hardware upgrades. This will be in contrast to Base Mode, the mode for OG PS4 plebs. All 40 million or so of us, really.
I will be expecting this new console to dodge bullets.
Yes.
This doesn't necessarily mean that the console will launch in October, by the way. It's probably just a way for Sony to keep its holiday games from feeling outdated as soon as PS4 NEO makes its way to store shelves, which will most likely be maybe a month later. They really like releasing hardware in November.
Yeah, Neo mode in general will offer higher resolution than on PS4, plus improved and more stable frame rates.
Just to reiterate, that doesn't mean the Neo mode is going to natively output at 4K, because that'd still be really difficult, next to impossible, really, even with this new hardware, if they want it to cost anything consumer friendly. However, the PS4 NEO will still output at higher resolutions than the current PS4 and then upscale that to 4K. At the moment, not all games run natively at 1080p on the PS4 anyway, so hey, still huge improvement.
Yeah, according to Giant Bomb, Sony is basically leaving the resolution and how developers get there up to each individual studio. However, one area they are pretty adamant about does have to do with frame rate.
Giant Bomb writes, throughout the documents, Sony repeatedly reminds developers that the frame rate of games in Neo mode must meet or exceed the frame rate of the game on the original PS4 system, which, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. 60 frames per second or so.
I'll take it.
Still very fucking hard.
Speaking of, any games released prior to this October will need a patch to get a brand new Neo mode, but only if developers choose to support it. However, previous games should still upscale to 4K, it just won't make use of the improved native resolution or frame rate.
One other important note here, these reports don't include any mention of the big property under development utilizing the PS4.5's power, which we reported on a few weeks ago. But it does make sense, seeing as how those documents were meant to be brief studios on just the new hardware.
In addition to no Neo-only exclusives, Sony has also outlined guidelines about exclusive modes or unlockables for the Neo, which will also be prohibited.
However, if something exists in base mode, it can be improved upon in Neo mode, like 8-player co-op instead of 4, for example.
Maybe the Neo will give me 4 new friends.
Both Giant Bomb and Eurogamer state that there's no mention of Neo specifically benefiting PSVR in their obtained documents. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it won't, but for many, it seemed to be one of the key points of why the system would exist in the first place.
And really, all of this hardware working in conjunction is going to be a difficult juggling act for Sony. Not only will they have the enormous install base for the regular old and busted PS4, but they'll also be contending with the launch of what is essentially 2 new consoles now in the form of PlayStation VR and PS4 NEO, or whatever they end up calling it by the time it comes out.
The chosen one. All these rumors come in a swirl, or these reports, I should say, they're not rumors. They come in a swirl of rumors, though, from Microsoft. Last week, we reported on an FCC filing that seemed to reveal the existence of 1 or possibly even 2 new versions of the new Xbox One, which would be revealed at E3.
However, now there are even more rumors out there that Microsoft is testing a number of prototypes for a new Xbox One.
The Verge is reporting that inside sources have told them that Microsoft is working with multiple possible new Xboxes. Specifically, these new Xboxes. It's just so fun to say.
Xboxes.
They make use of upgradable hardware. You'd swap out like a PC, which tallies with rumors we have discussed a few weeks ago.
Whatever the case, for the rumored Xbox and the all but officially announced PS4.5, it looks like we're going to have a big holiday season in terms of hardware, which is, well, kind of atypical in the middle of a console cycle.
But so exciting. Really, we're used to seeing new form factors or like slim models, but getting new consoles with better hardware is, for the most part, pretty unprecedented, unless, of course, you count the doomed 64DD, which we never will.
Yeah, it's hard to tell what this means for the current generation, too. I mean, does it mean it's going to be shorter than the average cycle if console makers already feel their machines are outclassed by PC counterparts? Yeah. Who knows? I mean, really, this is kind of like a new generation already. They're just not calling it that.
Yeah, on the other hand, it could mean we're looking at a longer console cycle, of course, playing devil's advocate, extended by these 2 new boxes. Still, it could be a hard pill for people to swallow. After all, console gamers are more used to buying one iteration of a machine and basically holding on to it until it red rings or spits fire from its face.
But for now, got us excited for when Sony finally announces this really, really poorly kept secret.
So, what do you guys think of Neo? Are you excited? And will you buy a new PS4 if it's slightly better specs? Let us know in the comments.
And for future breaking reports about video game hardware, like this video and subscribe to the Now.
Yay, abs.
Abs. Democracies. Does this count? Nope. Okay.
So standing crunches are real. Standing crunches are real. So far, the new details state that the PS4, Wachowski, got it.
Specifically, according to the documents, Neo's CPU features 8 Jaguar cores, clocking it at 2.1 gigahertz, contrasted to the 8 cores at 1.6 gigahertz.
The double compute unit, with a double compute unit, God damn it. With a double compute unit count from 18 to 36 and faster clock speeds.
Flaster.